If the global pandemic wasn't a concern enough, there are now reports of monkeypox being a serious worry across the world, particularly after the World Health Organization alert on this. Monkeypox cases are rising in India. They're still a small number, but they are rising, and certainly abroad. India has 4 monkeypox cases which have been reported. Now, of concern is the fact that one of the individuals had no foreign travel history. Monkeypox cases have now been reported in 75 countries, and over 18,000 monkeypox cases have been reported around the world. Is it time now for India to seriously start thinking about a vaccine program to deal with monkeypox? Joining us now for more on this, Adar Poonawalla, the CEO of the Serum Institute of India. Adar, thanks very much for being with us. Is it time for us to get serious about a monkeypox vaccine?
Well, Vishnu, it's not a mystery at all to me that these cases are coming up and being detected. And to answer your point, it's at very early stages that we all need to start thinking about it, but there's really no panic because, as you know, and now there's so much information out there after the pandemic where people do have access to information, even for diseases like monkeypox. It's been around for decades. Because of the global health systems that are now trained and equipped to, detect infectious diseases, you're finding all these cases coming up which earlier, were slipping through the system and were not being detected. So that's the simple way of looking at it. Having said that, because of travel and encroachment to the animal habitats and other areas where you do get these zoonotic viruses coming over to humans, we need to be vigilant, and we need to follow the WHO guidelines that have been set out in these particular areas and certain communities to follow so that we can reduce the spread as much as possible. Now, having said that, certainly as a global vaccine manufacturer, especially, who is equipped with the technical know-how and the capacity, more importantly also, to handle these additional vaccines. We're looking at talking to some partners. And very soon when we tie up, to do that, I can share that with you. But again, for a vaccine manufacturer to look at a vaccine, we really need to see that is there going to be really a lot of demand, or in 4 or 5 months, is it going to fizzle out? And, treatments which are also there will take care of a disease like this. So we'll have to wait and watch.
Now, smallpox, vaccines are a rarity. Bavarian Nordic, I believe, is a Danish biotechnology company. It's one of the few in the world, or perhaps the only one in the world, which manufactures a licensed vaccine against monkeypox. Is this a group or is this a particular vaccine that you're looking at? I believe there's something called Imvanex, there's something called Imvamune and Jynneos in the United States. Is this what you would be looking at to manufacture in India?
So 2 important points to note here. Unlike in the COVID pandemic where you had different technologies that you could use, here right now the smallpox vaccine, which was invented by the late Edward Jenner many years ago, is being manufactured by the company you just mentioned. And the problem with that is you need BSL-3 and BSL-4 containment facilities to handle that vaccine, because you have to gotta handle the live part of it. And we're not equipped in India to do that at the moment, but that can change. You've got some facilities in India which are BSL-3 and BSL-4 compliant if one chooses to go down that route.
Right.
We're talking to them and we're talking to others also. In fact, we're talking to our partners where we could make potentially, and we've not even started trials on this, is a messenger RNA candidate for monkeypox, which would mean you can safely handle the production and scale up, again, which were very important factors, if you remember, in the COVID pandemic, yes, which is why we were able to make so much of the vaccine. You've got to have it thermostable, you've got to have the ability to scale it up safely, and containment facilities. But we're still very far away from that because we still need to develop an alternative approach. We're talking to Novavax for it as well. So we've got a few options on the table, and maybe in a month or 2 we can see if it really will be required.
How long will it take to prototype these mRNA vaccines against monkeypox?
Well, from the lessons of the pandemic, one good thing that came out of it as far as, prototyping new, technologies, especially messenger RNA, one could do that in a matter of 3 to 4 months. And after that go into, the regular animal and human trials. So again, it would still take more than a year from today, in theory, if we were to look at making a vaccine, and just to manage expectations. But again, one would have to have that proof of concept done first. So, we'll have to wait and see how that goes.
But the traditional route, the smallpox vaccine which already exists, which you mentioned, and this is a key point, replicating it in India is difficult because it requires biosafety standards which are the very highest. Is that a route which may be necessary for us in India to follow should this become worse than it is, monkeypox, the spread?
Well, yeah, I mean, in an emergency situation, we could always do the fill finish of the product made by that company over there. So that would certainly give access to Indians, for example, to get the vaccine without any safety issues, because it's a time-tested product approved by the US FDA. A handful of countries stockpile it, yeah, that is possible. But to make it from scratch, it would definitely take some time and investment to design and make those facilities. I don't know if we would be able to do it. It would have to be with someone else, but we could do the fill finish, and I think the bulk supply should be adequate to handle. I mean, don't forget, in diseases like monkeypox, they can cause outbreaks, epidemics. It's not going to be a global pandemic. So You're not talking about vaccinating the whole population. Maybe in certain states or regions where you have seen a lot of spread, you may want to protect those populations over there and, give a few million doses, which we could easily get access to and do that. And we're talking about importing some vaccine doses as finished product as well over the next few months, just as abundant precaution in case the country needs it.
So Adar, that's two important points. The last point I think is very critical, that the SII is looking to import a batch of smallpox vaccines, number one. And number two, you're exploring the possibility of fill finish for a smallpox vaccine which already exists. For the benefit of our viewers, what does fill finish mean?
So fill finish means that once the vaccine has been produced in bulk, and any activation or inactivation of a virus from safety angles is required, and all that is done elsewhere, we have a perfectly safe product that one can inject into a human being. And so we're talking about just bottling it into the vials, labeling it, and then dispatching it. So it's sort of the second half of the process of vaccine manufacturing, where the vaccine's already produced and then it's transported in cold chain and then just bottled in the vials here in India.
So is Bavarian Nordic therefore the company that you're looking at? As I understand it, it's one of the only in the world which is licensed to manufacture vaccines against monkeypox, specifically the smallpox vaccine, or are there other groups?
No. So we're talking to them, and then once we have some arrangement or agreement with them, we can share that and see how that goes. But again, that's a decision, the government of India will eventually have to make with the experts, that should we, like other nations, start stockpiling a small quantity, just a few million doses of this vaccine. And, I'm prepared to import it at risk at my cost. Initially, in small volumes, but then eventually the government of India would have to decide on a health policy and all, which I'm sure they're working on. At the moment, we've hardly got a handful of cases in India that have been detected. So it's not really any reason to, have a knee-jerk reaction and order millions of doses and do all of that. But this is exactly the thing we need to watch closely in the next few months and talk to the experts in the government of India and see what they feel we should do. Because, we've always collaborated very well with the government as manufacturers, and we need to have that close coordination so that we don't miss a few months in doing so.
By when would you consider importing, a small batch as you talk about? By when, or is it an immediate order that you're prepared to make right away so that you can
Immediately, I'm ready to do that as a security to our nation. As soon as we can have some sort of commercial tie-up to import it and based on availability from Bavarian Nordic, we're hoping to do so. My team is talking to them right now. And then, for larger volumes, of course, we take a call based on true demand and necessity.
And by when, assuming you close out talks with them, would you be able to actually physically have those vaccines in India as a stockpile, just in case it's required?
I would say 2 to 3 months should be possible. There's some formalities and regulatory procedures to import a finished product, but of course that's nothing in comparison to what we did during the pandemic, where at every stage from the virus seed stage we imported everything. That's of course more complicated. This is just for an importation, and of course in a public health situation, I assume the permissions will be very swift from the health ministry. So as soon as there's availability from that company, we can get it here in 3 or 4 months and make it available to the public if required.
Is it a very expensive vaccine?
I think so. I haven't checked, to be honest, because we don't make it and we've never bought or sold it. But yes, it wouldn't be extremely affordable from that angle. What India has been used to importing or rather procuring at 200-300 rupees, it could cost a little bit more. I would have to check that, to be honest, but I don't imagine it to be, going into hundreds of dollars or something like that.
So it's not going to be another Covishield in terms of pricing?
Well, I don't know, because we don't make it. But if we make it, of course, everything's going to be very affordable and accessible. So, but that's, far, far away. It's a big hypothetical.
There's another very important point in this. If this unfortunate, and if there is a possibility of this becoming much worse than it is presently, would you be in a position to export this from India to the WHO or to other countries, along the lines of what you did with Covishield in the past?
Well, absolutely. I mean, if we produce it and India doesn't require any, further doses, of course we can make it available to the WHO countries and others. But again, I don't think even Gavi and UNICEF have felt that they need to stockpile. I think these discussions are happening at the moment. But, the reason why I thought we'd have this conversation is because there's a lot of panic building up and a lot of questions that people ask. And I thought it was time to just put that to rest, to say that there are so many diseases out there today that have been around for a lot of years. And now they're going to keep getting detected because of our stronger health systems. And that doesn't mean, we're on our way again toward another pandemic or another major epidemic. You're going to see these outbreaks occur in certain parts of the world, including India. And we just have to treat it and follow the guidelines set by the WHO and the government of India, who has set out and will set out, I assume, some things and procedures that we need to follow to be just cautious.
All right, Adar Poonawalla, thank you very much for speaking to us. India needs to be aware of the concerns around monkeypox, and if necessary, we need to act towards vaccination. But that means a lot of decisions need to be taken. Adar, thanks very much for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you.